Hi, everybody who's not there or is coming or is thinking about it in your brain. This is me, Liz, with Open Space Mediation, and I'm talking to my dear friend Pam. And we're going to just have a wonderful conversation about the things that are important to us. And Pam, before we went live, was just telling me about this incredible program that she's putting together in Oregon, which unfortunately is too far away from Colorado for me to be able to participate. But Pam, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, I'm doing a program starting the weekend of September 24th. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's called Rewilding the Feminine. And what I think about rewilding is about getting back into our nature, into our spontaneity, our playfulness, the acknowledging the gifts that we have in the world and being willing to share those to the world. Also, rewilding to me is to be the brave women that we want to see on the planet these days and that we need, because I think that just just the natural instincts for women is to be the connectors, is to lead with compassion and empathy and be the connecting pieces in our lives. And I love to work with women to bring out those gifts, to just unwind, to rewild, to rewind into a new place of existence. And to me, that's what's exciting about this work. It's, it goes into shadow work, which I think is, I'll just share something I think is fascinating, because the experts say that we only use 3 to 5% of our brain capacity.
That's frightening.
So I think it's exciting, Liz, because I'll tell you why. Because that means we're kind of like a computer. All the things that happen in our lives, our genetic coding, our family of origin, all that ancestral lineage is coming through us. And we're operating at a very unconscious level. So things that we do 97 to 95% of our day is on automatic. We're responding, we're reacting, we're doing things, and we're having the same results. And so that gives me excitement, because that unconscious is our shadow. That's because it's unseen. It's like the operating system within a computer. We don't see what's going on in there. We don't see what's going on and why we're making these choices again, again and again and again. So to me, that's exciting, because the gold is in the shadow. Our life force energy, our excitement, our enthusiasm, our creativity, it's all within us. And it's in that unconscious. It's like we've hidden it, we've layered it. I've been working years, over 2 decades in this work, and it's exciting to me every time someone has those ahas, because those little ahas. I remember one of my very first clients in the 90s was a teenage gal, and we were working on an eating disorder. And so I kind of took her in, closed eye, just a very short guided meditation. And she went back to 3rd grade when somebody had told her something mean and awful, which, can happen. And so instantly she had food issues. And from that forward, she had food issues. And so we went in and created a new story, because that was an untruth. That was just, but that happens to us every day, all day.
Yeah. We have these, well, I was telling you about Shirzad Charmaine. He talks about saboteurs that we have in our brain that we believe is the truth, that sort of set off these sort of negative tracks that our brain gets stuck in.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like some of what you're doing and is kind of surgical almost. If you're able to get in there, and I don't know if this is what you if this is shadow work or if this is the byproduct of it, but like being able to go into your subconscious, figure out some root causes of some of those negative mind trains, or whatever you call it. What do you call them? Negative tracks that you have.
Yeah.
And kind of giving it a different trajectory. And then
Absolutely.
you have to work on that, don't you? And is that why you have the 12-week piece after the 3 days?
Absolutely. So the 3 days is the immersion, and it's really exciting. It's up on 4.5 acres on private land on the river at Mount Hood in Oregon. It's outdoor with a outdoor yurt that has coverage, and yet it's open space. Has walking and hiking paths all right there. We'll have yoga, catered meals, all sorts of fun rituals. It's really just a beautifully safe and nurturing place to nurture our souls first and foremost, to get back into our nature. But also the immersion weekend is all about building community, meeting other women that are there to feel super excited to get to know each other and maybe a little scared. And what then we do is hopefully everybody has at least one, discovery. It's like, let's just say, what's really frustrating for me right now is, someone comes up with, I don't use my voice. I tend to not speak my truth. And so maybe they take that, it's a big revelation for them that they want to gain that back. They want to, because the fifth chakra is all about voice, speaking our truth, moving in our truth, in our bodies. And it's connected to the third chakra, which is all our power center, how we feel about ourselves. So when you work on one, you work on the other. You get more confidence, you build. And so then we take that, and for the next 12 weeks, we're on, if you're in the Portland area, it's live in my sanctuary if you choose, or you can Zoom in. So it's a hybrid program. And then we do integration and revelation and transformation. And so it's like that, like you said, it's that rutted road. So, we're in a big, deep rutted road. We have our brains have an automatic neural pathway that they go when we are threatened. Let's just say, I'm feeling really scared right now, talking to Liz and Merrill. If that was really true, my brain would go into my story around that. And so what we start doing is we start putting new pavers into that road, that rutted road, and we start making it become more, we become more conscious of it, more aware of it. So when we have a choice of an old behavior, all of a sudden I'm catching myself talking to Liz, and it's an old story. I'm really not feeling threatened. It's an old story. So I can. So
you're labeling it.
Choice. Yes. Then I can make a choice. And so it's like, I'm scared right now, and I have a message I want to share with people. So I'm excited as well. So we don't dip into, we don't fall off the train and just get scared and frozen.
So right? when I think about this, and when I work with clients who are sort of stuck in a conflict cycle or a trauma bond, this is exactly what we talk about, is like recognizing it, just being able to recognize it.
Yes.
And then labeling it, right? Yes. Understanding it, identifying it, and then you can like make a conscious decision. Do I want to go this way, or do I want to, well, you said not to do either or, but the way that I think about it is if you have the ability to consciously make a choice rather than just automatically like subconsciously going down and like operating from your amygdala or the fear center part of your brain, you can be like, actually, I'm going to try it.
You have a choice. It is
Yeah.
making choice. It's like, this is that scared little girl, that, had this happen, but that's not who I am anymore. I'm stepping more fully into this person. So
Yeah.
that's what
And
we
it
do.
does take practice.
And that's the difference. That's why we have the 12 weeks. The 12 weeks are designed to continually to put pavers in the road, to be surrounded by your sister group that is there to bear witness and be witnessed, which is such a beautiful process, because we're invited into people's soul journey at a intimate level that we're all seeking on the planet right now, is to have these bonds that we take out into life. Oftentimes these become our life friends, because we have a deep intimacy, and we bared ourselves oftentimes that we have never even done, even with our own partners, because we carry so much shame with that. Those shadow pieces are just automatically, they're shame pieces. And so when we bring them to the light, when we reveal them, they're not as scary. They're not this scary monster that we thought. It's like, as a little kid, it's like your mom coming in the room and you're scared to get out of bed because there's a monster under the bed. And she comes in and she actually turns the light on. Well, that's what we're doing. It's not
Right.
It's invisible actually, but it's real, because
Yeah.
it's operating who we are and how we're making choices. And so the sister bond is so beautiful. It's so amazing to be able to listen to somebody else go through something and learn so much yourself at a heart level. It's not at a head level. We have these brilliant minds, and yet when we use our heart to be the motivator to use our minds in a brilliant way, then we can reach people at a deeper level and have more impact on the planet.
So, yes, that is beautiful. And I think that connection can help you look at your own shadows and not feel so alone and scared. If you have other people and you're all like looking down, I see that. Yeah, okay. And you can, like you said, turn on the light and be able to talk about it. And, you have that too? Well, mine looks like this. Well, I can really see how that can be so powerful rather than just doing it on your own.
It is. And we always hear that term, all is one, or the I am. And to be able to experience that in a group situation is what I love, to be the magician that creates that in groups, because when we can just relax enough to really get the idea of what it truly means to be one, because we're all here suffering, and we're not suffering just to suffer. We're suffering to learn. And that's
ideally. Yeah. So I want to ask you about breath work, because that's another thing that you do, that you talk about, that I would love to understand better.
Well, breath work is, I've been doing breath work since 2002. I offer in person still in Portland twice a month, the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. And if you go to pamsavory.com, you can get the event information there. But I've also been a trainer for breath work. And this type of breath work, I used to do shamanic breath work for years. And then I was gifted. My own process of breath work. And so it's called Breathwork Metamorphoses. And what it is using the breath consciously, just deep breath. And that has an alchemical experience in the body. And we have our eyes closed. So we're immediately going from alpha to beta brainwaves immediately with the breath. Is
that what happens when you close your eyes?
When you close your eyes, you go from alpha to beta. We're turning off the senses, our natural 5, 6 senses, because we have intuitive senses, but we're not turning off the intuitive senses. We're turning off the other 5 senses. And I have mixed music so that it evokes emotion. And then we let go of the brain. And so it's really like a natural psychedelic experience.
Ooh, that sounds really awesome.
Yes, and yet we get to do that on our own. We don't need chemicals. We don't need outside sources. We're such magic beings if we truly believe the fact that we can travel dimensions, that we can relive and redo an experience. So we process things that are stuck in our body because we're not taught in this culture to emote, to move emotions. And so this is a great place to move emotions where we get them out of the body so they have less control over us. So if you have I've worked with a lot of trauma victims, and that's my history as well. And so the trauma in our body is our operating system. We're working constantly out of fear, anxiety, and all sorts of other things. So it's able to move that. And then we move through up to the upper chakras with the music. And after we move things out, we let things in. It's just such a beautiful experience of feeling supported by your own experience of the divine, whatever that might look like for you, of having guides, of having experiences that are like a living dream. And yet they're more embodied because we're not taking, I'm not against people using psychedelics if they're using them in a safe and proper experience. I just have never had to.
Yeah.
I've allowed my own natural ability to be able to let go and be guided by the breath. And so that's what breath work is. It's an experience that is very grounded because we're still in our bodies. We have control, so it's not so scary. That then we bring back, and then we have to do the same thing as we're doing in this workshop. We have to integrate it, make it our new practice. Just because I had this wild experience of feeling like a queen and really owning, my presence and my empowerment, that will dissipate quickly unless we have follow-up from within. It's like, how can I remember? So oftentimes I would paint my fingernails a funny color or wear a piece of jewelry so that I could remind myself, oh yeah, I need to remember this feeling.
Yeah, totally. That makes so much sense. I was reading that book called Atomic Habits. I can't remember the name of the author, but he talks about like having like little triggers, I think, or like stacking stacking habits or putting things close to each other so that it can like remind us
Yes.
of whatever we're trying to like integrate.
We
So
have to
it's
have something. Yeah.
So do you do breath work in this program, in the rewilding program?
We have them once a month. In
Okay.
a group, we have them once a month.
And so how long does it take if you're, let's say, because of course I work with people who are going through divorce, and I work sometimes with couples and sometimes with individuals, and sometimes the individuals that I work with are operating out of a place of trauma, right?
Right.
And that gets them stuck in relationships that aren't good for them. It gets them stuck in conflict cycles with a person or with themselves. So there's a lot of alignment, I think, in what we do, at least the goal that we have of, like trying to help people get unstuck, to be able to sort of pull the things out from the shadows and look at them and say, hey, what are you here for? How are you serving me? Can I send you on your way? Is there a better, more healthy track for me to be on that's going to get me closer to where I want to be, which is over here and not here, like all stuck? So going back to my original question, I'm just kind of like riffing here because it's so interesting. And so many of the conversations I have with people like bring me back, to some of these elemental pieces. But my question is, and I am getting to it, my question is like, if I had a client that I sent to you who was kind of stuck in trauma and was ready to move on, was either trying to figure out if he or she wanted to get divorced or was going through a divorce or had just divorced, but was still unable to kind of reclaim this whole sense of self and move past being stuck in trauma and that bond that you have with somebody. How long does that take? I mean, what does that look like? Do people need to work with you for years, or can you just like afternoon and some follow-ups and you're good? And how is that different than like traditional therapy?
Well, it's hugely different from traditional
Well,
therapy.
yeah, yes.
I'll just say that. And I even have some people that are in traditional who send me clients. I work from the body up. So I work, expressing things and removing things, because when it's in the body, it's got its heels dug in, right? And to me, time is irrelevant, because I've seen miracles where things just shift so rapidly, and yet there needs to be more consistent, because that road is still there, right? It can be a slippery slope to fall back into that deep-rutted road of behavior, because that's actually our comfort zone, right? And so the difference is being able to, the answer is, it takes as long as it takes. I think this is a life journey. I think recovering and awakening our gifts and our truth and our voice and our expression in the world and our service in the world, and discovering, who we are and what we want to do on the planet is a lifetime project. And how we can relate more, more effectively with people. How can we let down our guard and be more vulnerable so that we can allow others to be vulnerable as well? So when I work privately with people, I usually do 12 sessions at a time. And more times than not, when we're at 6, we're shifting directions, because there's been so much improvement. And that's because people, when they come to me, they're ready to do the work. They're ready to show up. They're ready to make those hard changes, because change is hard. It makes us super, super vulnerable. I worked with a sales team this morning, and our topic was vulnerability, because that's a huge obstacle, is being vulnerable. And change is, change requires that we're vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think that's so critical what you said, that people come to you when they're ready to work, because it's really, really, really hard. Like it's hard for me to work with clients if they're not there yet, or they're not ready to move from the discomfort, unhappiness that they're comfortable with into a place where they're not comfortable with, right?
Wow, that takes time, especially going through divorce. That takes up so much energy. So to me, it's like pause. And then when I regain some of my energy and some of myself, and, I know what it feels like to even be alone and not be around this narcissistic asshole, then wow, I have a breather, and maybe I need to party a little bit now, then I'll come back to me. It doesn't really matter to me. Time is irrelevant. And but I can tell you that most people that work with me, I think they're on the path forever.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're also giving them tools so that they can like do their own practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just continue fertilizing and feeding the garden that is theirs to grow into.
Yeah. So as you know, I'm sure I've told you this, that most of my life I've spent as a professional musician, right?
Yeah.
And that what you do every day is practice, right? That's how you get better. And that learning how to build practice into your life is not something that necessarily comes really easily, right? But once you are able to do that, you can apply that with presumably like breath work or habit building or whatever, But it is something that that you have to be taught how to do. Like,
Yeah.
that's why we take lessons, is basically to learn how to get better, learn how to practice, learn how to do
Yeah.
it on our own. And so,
And I think that, and it's simple though. I'm a simple person. I give, I break it down and it's really simple. And if we just show up and we have a few simple practices, maybe a mantra. It depends on what we're getting over. If we're getting over huge trauma, like I had to get over, I said in a mantra out loud 500 times a day, out loud. I didn't listen to the radio. I just, said my mantra out loud 500 times a day, because I knew that, they say that every cell in our body regenerates itself over 7-year period. So we're a completely new person in 7 years. Some do it very rapidly. So in my brain, I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself 7 years to see what can change in 7 years. And so I said this mantra 500 times every day out loud to tell those dense cells what my truth was, so that I could override it. And that's how dedicated I was. I was.
You were ready to go.
I had no choice. I had no life. I was chronically ill. I was very, very ill, bedridden. And it was my dark night of the soul. And it was like, get up or shut up, because, nothing was going on. And so I knew that I had the answers within me, because medicine wasn't happening, wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's where I operate from the sense that everybody has answers within them.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it's so cool that you took that personal trauma and use it now to help other people who are going through that. And you can show them, like, here is where life is shit and you can't get out of bed and you're sick all the time. And here's where you could be. And I'll go with you. That's really awesome. I know that we don't have too much more time left, but I wanted to ask you a few more questions if you've got time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, can you talk a little bit about mantras? Because I don't know anything about mantras. Like, how does that work? What's the purpose of a mantra? Because I think sometimes people who have no experience with that are like, isn't that a religious thing, or isn't that what Hare Krishnas do?
Yeah, no, it's really basically a message you want to tell yourself. And so it overrides. So eventually it's going to override your subconscious belief system. So it's personal. So make it personal. So I am, present tense, and positive. So what I told myself, because I was chronically ill and I knew that I was working from a place of trauma. And to me, trauma is anything. Birth is trauma. So we all deal with trauma, and it's different varying levels. And I don't judge any of that from one person to the other.
Different things traumatize different people.
Exactly. So my mantra was, I am whole, I am healthy, I am at peace with myself and all of life. And that saying that I am, so that was present tense. Now I'm not trying to be, or I'm going to be. So personal, present tense, and positive.
The 3 Ps.
The 3 Ps. That's what a mantra is for me. That's how I built my mantras, and how I've built mantras with clients. And saying it out loud gives it a vibration. So I'm a big walker and hiker. And when I'm by myself, I'll say my mantra. And it's a vibration that actually, I feel like, gets more into the dense part of our body, the shadow, the conscious layers. And I would roll over in bed, not sleeping, bathed in sweat and very much in pain. And instead of agonizing over all of it, I did my mantra, and I'd eventually go back to sleep.
I love that. Okay, I have another very important question. What kind of food are you going to have at your retreat?
That's so important. It's all catered. In fact, I just wrote to my caterer this afternoon, and it's always delicious. I haven't picked out the menu, but I go all out at the events. And so if you have food sensitivities, organic, of course. But if you have any food sensitivities, we totally take care of you. So it's just what I love about the feminine energy is to just relax into being cared for. It's like walking into the womb of the mother is what I want people to feel like when they walk into this space. It's like, let's walk into the womb of the mother where we have everything taken care of, where all our needs are taken care of, because I really believe that that's our life if we open up to it.
That is awesome. Do you have pictures handy you could share a screen with? Because that's putting you on the spot.
It is, because I don't have control of that. No, I don't.
That's true. Right.
Well, if
Okay.
you go to PamSavory.com, at the top of every page is a little banner, Rewilding the Feminine. Just click on that. You'll see some pictures of the yurt, of the river that we're on. We have a sand area that has a fire pit. There's hiking trails nearby. And it's going to be fabulous in person. And then we just get to be able to support and be supported doing the integration work, which is fabulous. Because
I want to go. It sounds so good.
Yeah, it's
how many do you have spots left?
I do. I have a few spots left. I'm only opening up to 12 to 15. Okay. And so we have yoga in the morning. I might have a tapper. I'm kind of playing with that. I had a tapper, but she's not coming up because of COVID. So I might get a tapper to come in to do. I love tapping for integration and more of the body, moving with the body and moving with the energy. And so I might have a tapper come, and we'll do fun art projects, and play is so important for us, and we forget we have to play. We have to be creative, and it's like, how can I do that? Well, if you play and you allow that creativity, it just expands the possibilities in your life. And so really
I love that. I want to go. It sounds so good. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Liz. This is so fun. We always have great conversations.
I know we do. I always learn a lot and discover new connections with things I'm trying to learn and things I'm looking into and conversations that I've had with other people. It's really exciting.
Well, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And I wish you could come up for it too. And
me too. Sometime.
I'll have to get down to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have this idea, I want to be able to go with some of my girlfriends. Do people ever come as friends?
Oh my gosh. I encourage that.
That would be so awesome.
That bedtime talk at night is people are bringing their trailers to camp out, because you have camping options, or you can sleep in the yurt, or you can rent these adorable little mini cabins that are in walking distance. So those are it's an outdoor nature adventure. So you can tent, or I think I have 4 trailers coming already, just, smaller trailers coming and being on the land. And so mine will be there, but with somebody else in it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Pam, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, darling.
I know you're busy. It's so good to see you.
Facebook world.
Bye.